So hi everyone, well, again welcome to the photography show and the video show virtual festival. Today we've got Carys Kaiser here with us and she's going to be doing her session which is all on moving from wedding and corporate filmmaking to TV. So Carys, I'll hand over to you.
Hello everybody and welcome to this virtual session. So we had a discussion with the photography show about what session that I would run because we changed some of them due to it now going virtual, and we thought that actually it would be really good to do a career session on moving from wedding filmmaking to corporate filming and then into TV, because this has been my journey, and especially now as I know that many of you wedding filmmakers have been really struggling for work, and that's the same for people in TV. It all sort of stopped. TV has come a little bit online, but and then corporate has actually started to take off a little bit, and I think everybody's sort of in a rush. We were just discussing before about how people are in a rush to get things going again. So yeah, so as a wedding filmmaker who has perhaps been stopped now from moving forward to doing any filmmaking, you may be feeling a bit frustrated and thinking perhaps I want to change career, or perhaps you don't want to change career, perhaps you want to carry on wedding filmmaking and look at other options on top of that. So I thought I'd just run through very quickly about my career, and I'm just going to stop sharing this screen so I'm full screen for a little while. Oh, I don't know whether that's stopped or whether I oh yeah, exit that. Okay, so yeah, so my career journey is that I originally started as a makeup artist, would you believe, and I did that as a sideline at night school, thinking, oh, it sounds interesting and I'd be able to do my hair and makeup and all of that kind of thing, and realised that actually it was going to be really difficult to get into. And then strangely I got a little opportunity to do some work experience at the BBC, and then I got to bid to do the regional news presenters makeup. And then they couldn't afford me, even though it was after my day job. I could leave the bank, go and sit there and do the job straight after. But what happened then was that they asked me to go in to do makeup workshops with the presenters, and then it took off from there. And what I realised was that I was in the right industry but the wrong job, and makeup wasn't for me. So I'd always been interested in photography, and I've always taken photographs from being very small, and I was interested in cameras. So I thought, well, this is what I'm passionate about, and how am I going to get there? And basically what I did was I didn't go to college or university to do media studies. I had to have a job because I couldn't afford to go to university. So what I did was I started tinkering with video cameras, and then a friend that I knew from travelling on a train, would you believe it, worked at the BBC, and she said, oh, somebody had been made redundant and from the BBC, and he was setting up his own company. He needed somebody to help out. Would I be interested? So I seized that chance, and I went and I worked for him for free for a few times, and then he started paying me, and it was only a token payment. But what happened there was that he taught me loads and loads of skills, and he taught me about cameras and things like that, and also about how you shoot and how you edit and how you put stories together. So I worked for him part-time on and off for many years, and then what happened was I started to get into wedding filmmaking. Because of my makeup background, I sort of knew quite a few photographers, and I said, oh, you know, what I'd like to do is I want to start this wedding business making films. And actually I was really passionate about that. I wasn't thinking, oh, I'll get into telly. I was more passionate about the filmmaking. And I think if you're a wedding filmmaker, you are passionate about that filmmaking, because you know, there are long days, and it's quite stressful. Filming a live event is somebody's personal, you know, emotional, biggest day of their life. There's a lot of pressure, particularly from brides and often bridegrooms as well, and then obviously their families. So I got into that, and I really enjoyed it by asking photographers if I could offer like a little video. It was a little highlights video. I didn't go all day. I just went for perhaps the first dance and the wedding speeches and packaged them up together. And they usually were friends of the photographer, and it wasn't kind of like I was encroaching on somebody's wedding filmmaking. It was perhaps somebody that couldn't afford to have a video made as well. So I was doing that for a number of years, and I really, really enjoyed it. And what I started to think was that, what would I do next? Because I've always been what's next type of person. Not that I'm discarding what I'm doing, but I want to move forward in a career and enjoy that process. So what I did was, I started to film some other little things, and they were a bit sort of like charity films. So that's the next stage that I took. So what I did was I wrote down as a sort of like my own sort of like career audit about what actually the skills that I had as a wedding filmmaker that I could transpose into making other films. And one of them, you wedding filmmakers have got to remember that you have nerves of steel and you are good in a crisis, because most weddings do have some sort of crisis. That might be a minor one, it might be ketchup down the bride's dress, or it might be that somebody's forgotten their shoes or whatever, and you're good to absorb all of that, not aside from all of the things that are going on in your mind about, have I got batteries charged, I've got four by the side of me whilst they're walking down the aisle in case a battery fails, and is this camera on, and maybe do you managing a multi-camera shoot. So I thought, well, I'm good multi-camera, and I'm also good with sound, and I'm good with a lot of things. And some of these skills I'd learnt with this guy that had set up this non-TV production company, you know, the sound being one of the most important things. So you've got to remember that you've got all of that creativity and that technical know-how. So these are really, really good skills. However, I don't want to break this to you in a very kind of like bad sense, but a lot of TV people will really look down their nose at you. I never do that, because I know what the journey is, and I know how hard it is to make a wedding film. And when I started, DSLRs, you either had a DSLR or you had like a video camera, and I had a Sony Z5, which was small mini tapes, because basically that's what they were using at the production company that I was working at on the part-time basis. So, you know, you've got to remember that with very small budgets and a lot of kit, you are very, very creative. So you've got those things going forward. So write down all the skills that you've got, and then when you've sort of like thought, yes, this is something that I would like to do, then the next thing might be charity films. And from charity films, it might be corporate films. And then what you've got to think of, though, is that sometimes wedding style is different from the corporate shooting that you may be doing. So this is when you're going to learn, when you're doing your charity films, about the language. You see, actually, in many ways, filming TV is a very simple affair, because we have like 4 or 5 shots that come together to be a sequence. So that'll be like a mid shot, you know, a wide shot, an establishing shot, and tight shots to tell the story. And we shoot those together to give them we shoot those to edit them together as a variety on screen. Now yours, often I see all these creative things about, you know, color graded, and some people have a very dark style, some people have a very clean style, you know, some people are very romantic people, some people have like ones with very long shots in them. But what you've got to think of is that TV is perhaps simpler and a bit more formulaic. So you've got to think about, when you transition from wedding filmmaker, that you move perhaps more to being a bit more stylized like TV. Now that's not for every corporate film, because a lot of corporate films want to be high end, and I'm talking about the things that you see perhaps on Instagram advertising, drinks and advertising all sorts of products. But the corporate film that sits on the website, or, you know, a Kickstarter type film, is very, very one of those ones, that things that you need to be looking at is very, very formulaic, and you've got to think about just 5 different shot sites that you can cut together and tell that story. And then I also think that wedding filmmakers are brilliant at making a lot of their footage go a very long way. Sometimes you need a short edit for Instagram, or you need a longer edit for the traditional DVD. So you're very, very creative in that way. But when you get to doing things like corporate films and charity films, what you really need to do is start thinking about really slashing films and really being tight with that edit. You don't need shots that look similar, and you don't need shots that are you know, from the same angle but slightly different. What you're looking for is that it is really tightly honed, and that's a skill that you're going to pick up as you're doing that. So when going back to my journey, what I had there was that I was really struggling to get forward with getting from the non-broadcast to the broadcast. How do you do that? Because that is a really big leap. And as I say, occasionally you'll find that people will look down your nose at them. So there are two actual ways that you can do it journey-wise. I've got other friends that have been wedding filmmakers, and they did media at university, and then they ended up wedding filmmaking to give them money coming in, and so that they could get access to kit, and they're also getting that experience. So one of them is to go down the PR route, and that's looking at PR agencies, but they're looking at, so that's where your wedding style will be able to sell you, is they're looking at high end. So you might look at actual wedding PR companies that are selling wedding products. So that could be a frog leap to doing PR films. And once you're doing PR films, then you're looking for opportunities to get into TV. And shortly I'm going to go through some websites about places where you can go to get work experience. So really what you're looking for, if you do the PR route but you find that actually after a while you are stuck in a PR area and making corporate films, and that's, you still have this burning passion to be in TV, then you need to think about the following steps and places where you can go. And I say a burning passion, you really are going to need to have a burning passion, because like weddings, TVs are long days, but also you've got an awful lot of competition. And sometimes it does feel like a lot of it is down to luck. I spent a very long time banging on the door of TV. Although I had TV contacts, they knew me as a makeup artist. They were never ever going to take me seriously as a from a wedding filmmaker, corporate filmmaker, to be in TV. So for me, what I did is I got in touch with a few friends via the person that had left BBC. He had a lot of contacts in the BBC, and I got a lot of work experience that way. And then that gave me an opportunity. And then I got in to be kind of like, oh, can you come and do a day's running on this show? So it doesn't matter who you are and what your age is. TV is open to everybody, especially now, you know, because they want people from all walks of life. They don't want people that just went to TV production, media degree, went straight into the BBC, straight into ITV. They are actively looking for people from all walks of life. So it doesn't matter if you don't have a degree, but you are going to have to do some sacrifices, and you are perhaps going to have to look at your model and what you're going to do. So what I did was I actually stopped wedding filmmaking. Although it was a lucrative area for me, I actually stopped. That was it. I went, right, okay, I've got to stop. If people want to say, if I want to take this career seriously, I've got to stop. And I did get occasionally people coming to me and saying, oh, you do making some wedding films, and I would pass them on to somebody else. But then also what I did do is I did do a little bit of second shooting for other people, or stand in, you know, there was a couple of times wedding filmmakers rang me and said, I'm sick, I've got the flu, can you go? So, you know, I did do a little bit of it. So there was a little bit of extra money coming in. But I had to say goodbye to that kind of lucrative career and sell my cameras. And then what happened was that I saw a job at the BBC, and it was a junior job in the camera department. But what that gave me was lots and lots of experience of all of the different broadcast cameras. So you may look at higher desks and see that you could go there because you're very good at prepping kit. You know about batteries. You look good. Once you've learned about cameras, you basically have that language and you know about cameras. So maybe you get to go from there to shoot. So there are lots of them, and actually I hadn't thought about making a slide with them all on, but there are things like ProCam and Visual Impact, and they have the places all around major cities. And it could be maybe Wex have a higher department, and perhaps you go and work in there part-time, and then you're going to meet people that are making TV and say, oh, you know, can I get involved with that? So the other route, after you've managed to get some work experience, and I'm going to tell you that this year is going to be really difficult to knock on anyone's door and say, can I come and help them, you know, run on a TV show, whatever, because of this COVID thing that, you know, basically at the moment I am signing waivers left, right and centre. I'm telling them that, you know, I'm not going out to bars and I'm not socializing with anybody that isn't in my household, because of this kind of, you know, we're trying to retain virus free. But I think from spring 2021, and this is a long game that you're going to be playing, you need to write down a plan. What are the shows that you like watching? What are the shows that you'd like to be involved in? Is it camera? Is it that what you're interested in? Are you just really interested in editing? Or is there like a storytelling job that you would like to get into? And if that's like things like, you know, actual an assistant producer job and driving storylines, then, you know, these things are open to you. So I'm just going to share my screen here, where we just websites. So these websites I'm going to just go through. Let's just see if we can pull that down. So the first one is Screen Skills, and this is a great place to, you know, to get into, to find out about what the jobs are that are available. You know, what does a producer do? What does an assistant producer do? I'm a shooting producer director in TV now, but also I do broadcast camera and I do a lot of news camera. And so there are those opportunities, but what you need to do is find out what people do on a show. So if there's a particular type of program that you like, maybe that's natural history, then get out with your camera and start filming things and start putting things together, and then start finding out who you would approach for that particular type of job. Once you've been around for a little while, maybe you've started a runner's job, you would be best to think about joining the union, which is BEC2, and they will give you lots of support. But also, if you're a starter, you can contact them and say, look, I'm in my mid-20s, I'm in my mid-40s, I'm looking at career changes, and I want to know, you know, get in touch with these people, because they have lots of opportunities available. The next one, you might think about making an independent film. That's another route into showing off your skills. And especially now while we've got downtime, you might decide to make a short film about something in your area that's happening, or it could actually even be a drama. And that, if that's something that you're interested in, if you want to make drama, then go out and make small things. It's about getting that motivation and drive to do that, because I know it takes a lot, especially now while we've not got a lot of money because there's not been a lot of work coming in, but also you know, the whole thing feels like it's quite heavy, so feel motivated. And then you might think about actually going full-time education, then obviously you've got all of the universities to look at and the further education colleges, but then also you've got the national television, so this is the NFTS, so you can go into that, and they've got short courses that you could perhaps go on. And the other one that I haven't opened as a link on here is Rain Dance. So we've got Sundance in California, but Rain Dance have an awful lot of weekend courses. You'll meet like-minded people and you'll be able to do their progress from there. So shortly we're going to go to a Q&A. So if you've got any questions, please ask them in the chat box, and then they're going to ask me a couple of these questions. Then also you've got the Royal Television Society, and this is a brilliant starter page, and it's got loads of like links on here and top tips about, you know, where you need to look. Obviously you've got ITV, you've got careers section, but also the BBC have, and they will be looking for people to do work experience, and it particularly from, as I say, from people from all different backgrounds. And then finally we have here we have Creative England, and they sort of like sit in between the TV companies and also the screen agencies. So I'm going to explain about the screen agency. So I'm just going to move along to show you Screen Yorkshire. So depend on where your region is. So you'll have Screen Scotland, and you know, there's one in the southeast, the southwest. There's one for Manchester. There's one for Yorkshire. There's one for Wales. You can go into these and start contacting them about the training courses. because I think what will be available is, if there isn't jobs available next year, there'll definitely be opportunities for training. So now where I'm sat is that after leaving the corporate world, occasionally I dip into doing corporate films as well as doing my TV work. And I can't tell you that it's like, right, okay, you'll be able to abandon being a wedding filmmaker and now you're going to TV. It's going to be a gradual process. It's going to be a long game. You need to have a little bit of a plan, and you need to sort of like contact people. I can't offer any work experience because of the way that my work is. I can't often take somebody with me, but you can contact me via LinkedIn, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing my screen here and share another box, and then if you want to ask any questions, please do. It's all chat, so you don't need to even be handed a microphone like you would normally if we were live on the floor. And we've got about 10 minutes for questions. So if you need to contact me, let's just see if, okay, I'll just share this again. You can contact me via LinkedIn at I am Carys Kaiser on there. So just find me and add me, and that's probably the best professional platform. Then I have a blog about drones, because I also fly drones and I teach people to fly drones. And then I'm the Drone Lass on Instagram and Twitter. So I'll stop sharing that and let Sophie back in. So Sophie, have we got any questions? So the question was about creativity. If you, as a wedding filmmaker, the person asked about creativity, and if creativity, when you're a wedding filmmaker, you have full creative control. How do you give that up? And I would say that is really difficult. I even find that difficult now if I'm directing TV. I find it really difficult because I'm very used to using the camera, and so I'm a bit like, oh, they're not shooting it as I would shoot it. But often you have to let all of that go, and allow that to sometimes just be, and think about this, just keep constantly about the story that you're telling. It doesn't look like, Sophie, we've got any questions. Oh, is it difficult? All right, okay, fantastic. Is it difficult trying for jobs in the current and the current one ends? Always finding the next gig after the, yes. So while you're in a current job, as in maybe you're working on something, finding the next one before you start. Often I found it's like a couple of weeks. Often when TV was, you know, pre-COVID, it was pretty busy and you would get one from the next. I definitely have times when I'm sat on a TV production for a long time, and then sometimes I'll have what I call the juggle thing, where I juggle my portfolio. So I'll be doing a bit of a corporate film. That's what I'm doing at the moment. I get in odd news film days on camera, shooting PD days, odd days. I'm currently working on Homes Under the Hammer, and so I'm directing and shooting at the same time. And then also I'm doing a little bit of drone work, but the rest of it, I am working practically part-time now, maybe 2 days a week. And then, you know, teaching drones and doing workshops and speaking to people like this. It's all a bit piecemeal at the moment. But yeah, always looking for that next job is difficult. But what you do find is there's a lot of Facebook groups, because that's another thing that I haven't mentioned, that there are Facebook groups, you know, get into TV. And then also there'll be one for your region. So if you're in Scotland, there will be a Scottish TV, and you'll be able to go on there and say, you know, I'm looking for opportunities. And with regards to the PR aspect, there are Facebook pages. We've got one in Manchester called Creative Professionals, and basically that's a complete mix of people that are PR people, graphic designers, public speakers, but also there's a lot of filmmakers in there, and you can get opportunities that way. Do we have any more questions? Anybody else got a burning question? Okay, so it says, do you have any tips for finding corporate clients? Did you advertise, market yourself? I'm looking to follow a similar route and do some work with some brilliant clients, but I'm keen to work with a broader range of clients before attempting to move in TV. So yeah, probably looking for those Facebook pages that are That's and LinkedIn, Facebook, LinkedIn, and also Twitter. If you've got a little show reel and you put on that, and then you go into your, I think they're still quite active. You know, you'll have a, say you're in Norwich, it'll be hashtag Norwich Hour, and you have a look at what that is. It might be a Thursday 8 p.m. and there's loads of people going, I do this, and that can give you a broader range of clients. I got a few corporate jobs that way when there was a bit of downtime in TV. And what I've noticed is that corporate has come online a lot quicker. Obviously the weddings, you know, it's all about the numbers, and obviously a lot of the couples have pushed them forward to 2021. But what I found is that corporate seems to have come back online. A lot of my friends that are working in PR are absolutely flat out editing. And that's another thing. If you've perhaps got health issues and you're worried about being isolating going forward, maybe for another 6 to 8 months, because we don't know when this is going to end, it might be worth contacting a couple of PR agencies and saying, you know, I'm really good at editing, I'm very, very fast at it. If you've been in the wedding market for a while, you may be at one of those people that is very, very fast at editing, and that can be relieve the pain of that. So what you need to be also doing is perhaps approaching people, because the other thing we've not talked about is like day rates and what you can be expected to be paid, and really that's anything from sort of like £250 to £350, maybe £400 a day for camera and filmmaking. But what you've got to remember is your edit is going to be tighter. You're going to have to edit in a couple of days because people won't wait for things like they will with weddings.
Hi, Carys. Sorry, I'm having a few technical difficulties there. Can you hear me okay now?
Yeah, I can now.
Perfect. So we've just got a couple more questions. So when I am a wedding filmmaker, I have total creative control, but what are the top tips that you could give to get over this, from kind of moving over and making that transition?
So I think one way is perhaps actually you could try, and it's a very personal thing, but actually maybe buddy up with another filmmaker, another wedding filmmaker that wants to go into corporate work, and then you shoot, they edit, but you have to work together about the story that you're shooting. So if it's for a charity, maybe that's what you're going to do, and then swap. And then that'll give you a taste of, first of all, about things, the way you shoot and the way that you put things together. But yeah, giving up that creative control is a really hard thing, because you know exactly what shots. And I think that's why I've ended up as a shooting producer director, because I really know what shots I want to get for that edit. So maybe I am a little bit of a control freak, and I really, really know what I want for the edit, because as well I edit and sometimes I edit for TV. So yeah, that's one way of letting go, and then looking for the job that is basically where you've not let go, which is the one that I've gone for.
Perfect. And where would you say, because of like the creative control, where could people fit in to TV? What kind of...
Well, actually, I think there's so many jobs that a wedding filmmaker could fit into. One of them is things like, you know, organising the shoot, and it might be that, you know, while you're there, you might actually be one of those people that it thinks about, you know, the organisation of the shoots. So you might even go into what we call production management, and that's a lot of things like paperwork. If you are an very organised person, that's why I say write down all of the things that you're good at and all the things that you really enjoy. You might not actually like the wedding film day. You might prefer the edit. And in which case you need to start looking at post-production houses, and can you help out, and can you start, you know, editing? Because editing is one of those skills where, you know, I've got lots of editors. They came back online an awful lot quicker than anyone else, and were earning probably sort of like from May. Some people actually worked all the way through lockdown, because they could sit at home on a machine and just, you know, edit all day and then just send everything to everybody. So yeah, you've got to think about what you really, really enjoy. But then on the other hand, what happens is in life, in careers, it doesn't matter how old you are, you think, I want to go over there, but then you end up over there, and it's like, right, okay, but it's the journey, isn't it? And never discount any of the skills that you've got, because you're going to find that when you get to TV and the competition is hard, and you have things like talent managers telling you that you can't do this, when you know you've got the skills, you're going to have to be quite pig-headed and stubborn and kind of like, I can do this, I'm going to show you. So the next question I've got is popped up in the chat. What do you need to stand out as the market's oversaturated on Insta, Facebook and LinkedIn? Do I have an agent? No, I don't have an agent. I just keep bashing a drum and just keep going for it. But then what you will find is that you will make contacts, and if you're nice to work with and you don't have an attitude and you're willing to learn and also accept criticism, you will find opportunities, or the opportunities will find you. And it's always about being ready, you know. And it might be that, as I said, you might be somebody who's a tech geek and you love cameras and you know all about the different shooting, you know, lenses, and or you might be really passionate about sound. Well, then there's always a place for you, and it's just finding that place. So no, I don't have an agent, and yeah, it does feel oversaturated, but I think if you just keep on at it and keep going, you will get there.
Perfect. We've got a question from Matt, who says, what drives and inspires you as a filmmaker to create for TV?
I think TV wise is that it's something that I always wanted to work in, although sometimes I do question that because you know, you can be really long days. But I think as a filmmaker, and this is wedding, corporate and TV, it's all about the people that you get to meet and the places you get to go. Because I used to think when I was, you know, doing the wedding filmmaking, the locations that we got to shoot in, you would know, it's not like you'd be driving down and go, oh, there's a stately home there, that'd be amazing to go and film there, because you just don't get places come onto your radar. So it was like people and places and opportunities to see places that you would never get to see. But yeah, I suppose what keeps driving me now is kind of like, it took me a long time to get here. I love what I do, but it's people, really, meeting people. Although at the moment, I don't want to meet people, if that makes sense. I think everybody feels a bit like that at the moment. You can meet people, but I want them to be 2 meters plus and wearing a mask. But yeah, it's all about the people.
Perfect. So sorry if we haven't answered any of your questions today, folks, but Carys, where can they find you if they have any questions that they want to ask?
Yeah, you can drop me definitely add me on LinkedIn, and you can ask me any questions there. But also I'm on Instagram as the Drone Lass, and you'll get to hear all about the drone stuff that I do. So yeah, I'm on there, and you can ask me any questions and add me. And as I say, I'm on Twitter. And I think my next session is how to fly a drone, and that's at 11:45, isn't it? And for that, I'll be online to answer any questions via text box, because what I've done is I've created a film, and it's not kind of like TV, it's been cobbled together, but I think it will tell you this story about basically where you would get started if you want to fly a drone.
Perfect. Well, we'll look forward to watching that later, and thank you very much for today, Carys.
Thank you very much for attending, everybody, and good luck with everything. We are thinking of you as wedding filmmakers going into 2021.